morning, everyone. Welcome to Pecan Moss Cakes, Cookies, and Candy. And I'm doing things a little backwards this morning. Not necessarily backwards, but I'm going to make the shortbread. But first of all, I'm going to get these eggs separated so I don't have to stop and do that. And I will give y'all, thank y'all so much for joining me. I will give y'all the recipe for the single batch I'm making right now. When I make it, I'm making a triple batch. I've already made a double batch this morning, the dough. I haven't cooked it, but I will give y'all the single batch recipe because more than likely you're not going to want to make 15 dozen cookies like I'm going to do. And you can always double this. Whoops. Almost rolled that egg off there. Goodness, that would have been a mess. My thinking with baking, when you're baking something that stays fresh, bake a lot because you've already got your mixer, your equipment out, your kitchen's going to be messed up, and your oven's going to be on. So go ahead and make a lot. At least make a double batch if you're making something that stays fresh. If you don't, that's not usually an option unless you're taking it to an event where you need a lot of product. So, and shortbread is one of the things that stays fresh indefinitely. And so you can do that. You can make it ahead of time, put it in Ziploc bags. If you want to freeze it, you can freeze it. I never have. I always keep mine in Ziplocs and then put them in like a airtight container. These eggs are super slippy today. So when I get this done, I'm going to go over there and wash my hands. And now I just took these eggs out of the refrigerator, so they're going to be okay just sitting out until I can get this made up. Y'all know I'm a stickler about eggs setting out. I know there's a lot of recipes that say to leave the stuff out at room temperature, but I am not a fan of leaving eggs out at room temperature for risk of food poisoning. And I might be a little bit too cautious about that, but that's just what I do. And I don't think that's going to change. So I made up a double batch this morning. I'm going to sit down here because I can't stand. Let me get my pans over here. Reach in front of y'all. So this double batch is going to make 4 pans of shortbread. These are 9 by 13, I believe. These are cheap pans. These are, I don't know what, these don't even have a name on them, but the cheap pans are the ones I like. As long as they're non-stick. I bought these at the dollar store. I bought them at the grocery store. I bought them at closeout stores. So you don't have to have a $40 baking sheet to bake shortbread. And I'm making these a little bit thinner than I normally make, so I'm going to take some of this out. I usually use the whole thing for one sheet, but I'm making these for friends, so I'm kind of doing this one special. She likes them really thin, so I'm going to make these, push these out to be pretty thin. I've weighed every one of these. Each one of these blocks is 27 ounces, and I'm usually pretty particular about weighing something like cookies or shortbread, so you don't get more in one pan than you do in the other. And they bake even, you get them pressed out even. You can even, I was going to get a fondant tool to press these out real smooth, but I didn't get it out for this first batch, so I may do it on another batch to show you how you can get it. If you don't want fingerprints on it, there's a way that you can avoid that. Just put another piece of parchment sheet on top of your shortbread and you can take anything, rolling pin, a glass. If you don't have a fondant tool to smooth it out, you can do that. You know, just whatever you have on hand. I've told y'all many times, you don't have to buy a bunch of special tools to be a good baker. You know, our grandmothers and mothers, aunts, and they didn't have all this fancy stuff that we have today, and they were some of the best cooks in my mind of all times. So you certainly don't have to have anything special to make something pretty and to make it taste good. So my goal is to get some of this in the oven, because this is going to take quite a while to bake all of this. And I don't use my bottom rack in the oven. I just use the top rack because it cooks more evenly. If you don't have it, and this is my opinion, if y'all want to fill your oven full and put it on both racks, that's fine. But I don't, because I like mine to cook the way I like it. And the way I like it is to cook 2 pans on the one rack and not put any on the bottom rack or the next rack. Now, sometimes I do these round cutouts, and sometimes I do them little squares. Most of the time, the ones that I sold, all those boxes that I sold, I did them in little squares. But I'm going to cut these out in little rounds. And that means there's going to be some edges left. And I'm using just a small cutter. Maybe, whoops, what's happening to my internet? I normally get 20 pieces when I cut them in squares. I'm not sure if I'll get 20 out of this, but we'll find out in a minute. And remember, you just want to press. Now, I'm not going to get 20 pieces out of it, but that's okay. The scraps are good too. Don't press it all the way down. Just you just want to make a indentation in it. And then when it comes out of the oven, then you're going to cut it and let it come all the way down. This is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. I usually get 20 pieces out of a pan. But because I'm doing these round, I'm only getting 15. And this little heart, I just like to make little impressions in them. And as soon as I get the other one done, we're gonna pop this in the oven, and then I'm gonna go over and make the shortbread. And I'm trying to utilize my time good so y'all can get an idea of all of it. And I know I've made this before, but I've still had a lot of people ask me, would I please make this live? So, and it's exact same recipe of the ones that I've sold, so there's no difference in it. And I'm going to set this aside over here and press the other one down real quick. And then when I take it out, I'll go ahead and cut this completely. This is all going to be scraps here. And when I say scraps, it won't be wasted. It will certainly be eaten, but it just won't be the little round pieces. I know most of y'all have probably already seen the information about the cake, but I'll go ahead and tell y'all for the ones that didn't. And thank y'all so very much for watching. A big thank you to Jamie and to his friends for coming to Jefferson. And I'll tell y'all, I don't want to make this whole video about the cake, but this was the first time in 25 years that it has rained on the 4th of July in Jefferson. And that was verified by more than one person. And they had all the chairs, y'all saw the pictures, all the chairs set up for little kids and for the big kids to sit out there for the auction. They had lemonade stands set up, snowball stands set up. And this is the biggest fundraiser that the Carnegie Library in Jefferson has each year. And they use the funds to do programs for the children. They have a reading at Christmas, and they have several things throughout the year that the kids can come to, and that's what the funds are used for. And they raise quite a bit of money every year for it. And I've donated to this before. I didn't last year, of course, but I have donated to it in the past. And so it really started lightning here real bad. We're 4 miles from town, and I knew that it was bad over there because it was bad here. And you know, lightning is dangerous, and they're not going to put anybody in danger to sit out there and get struck by lightning. So they called it off and postponed it and moved all of the things to inside, so it was the cakes and pies and everything were safe. And then Jamie, I had told this lady that's a coordinator for this event, for the cakes and pies for the auction. I told her that I had a friend that was coming from Texarkana that had planned to bid on the cake. And I don't remember if I told her his name or not, but I did tell her that he was coming. And so Jamie found her. Shout out to Jamie, and thank you so much for taking the time out to come and bid and buy that cake for your and serve it at your congregation. It was very, very kind and sweet of you to do that. So he found this lady and told her who he was and that he had come specifically to bid on my cake. And I think he done a little negotiating and talking to her, and she finally just decided to let him have it. They were loading the stuff up then. And so he got the cake. He paid $250 for it. Big thank you to Jamie for that. And those proceeds all of it went to the Carnegie Library in Jefferson for the children. And so she texted me late last night and thanked me again. Asked her, of course, she told me that she would love for me to donate again next year. And I told her, thanked her and that I enjoyed it and that it was, it was my honor to do it. And of course, you never know about your health, but she said that, again, she told me that this was the first time in 25 years that it had rained on the 4th of July in Jefferson, and that I asked her how much money did they raise, and she said under the circumstances, she thought that they did really well. They raised $9,000, which I thought was excellent, and for the library. And of course, last year they raised quite a bit more than that, but the event wasn't rained out. So to everyone that might be watching that participated, whether they donated or bought or helped clean up or whatever you did, whatever capacity you did, thank you very much, because it was a big blessing for the city of Jefferson. I'm going to pop these in the oven, put the timer on 20 minutes, and I'll come back and check these in a minute. Well, not in a minute, but when the buzzer goes off. And I also wanted to thank Jamie for my gifts that he gave me. He brought me this really beautiful apron that you see me wearing. It fits perfect, and these type of aprons sometimes don't fit me, but this one fits perfect. I love it. I love the color, and also a beautiful pack of really pretty blue flowery and white flowery napkins. So thank you, Jamie, for these beautiful gifts. I really appreciate it. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put these over there on my tray and put some cold packs on it. I'll show y'all how I do this, because this is going to be sitting out for a little while. And I want to make sure that, it doesn't come to room temperature. So, this is how I've done the whole time I made shortbread, or any time I make it to sale. This is what I do. I have a tray here. I've used my parchment to cover it up. I have a cold pack here. And I'm going to get out another cold pack, my refrigerator freezer. Now, when you do this, it makes that dough hard, and you have to work with it to get it back soft. But I'd rather do that than to risk have it set down at room temperature for too long. So that's how I do that. Now I'm going to get back over here, and this is going to be a triple batch. And I got my eggs here. I'll measure out my sugar, but first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my butter to mix it. And you don't have to mix this butter as long as you do when you're making buttercream, because it doesn't matter if this is white or not. This is 3 pounds of butter, 12 sticks, softened. So I'm going to put this in my mixer here. I hope this is soft enough. Doesn't feel real soft. I think I'm going to pop this in the microwave for about 10 seconds. It's pretty stiff still. I just took this out of the refrigerator this morning. It takes it a lot longer if it's not soft enough. So I normally use, I guess I'll wait till I get back over there because I don't have a microphone on. Yeah, that's much better. That's heavy. I normally just use Walmart brand butter, but this is Land of Lakes because it was on sale at Kroger. See, this is much better, and that's going to make it mix up a lot easier than it being hard. So for the recipe, it's a pound of butter for each recipe. And again, I'll go over this in a little bit. But, another little tip that most of you probably already know, take it out of the wrappers before you let it set out to come to room temperature. If you don't, you're going to have a whole bunch of butter on the butter sleeve, and then you're going to have to scrape it off with a spatula, and it just makes life easier if you take it out of the wrappers first. So let me get this up here. Get this out of the way. Get this started. And I beat my butter good. And then I add my sugar next. No, it's not sugar, that's flour, I know. And I will just add the sugar in. The sugar is 1.5 cups a batch, so this will be 4.5 cups for 3 batches. Now, when I was making all the shortbread to sale back, months ago, I would go ahead and measure all this up, so I didn't do it as I went. It was a lot easier. I had these big paper bowls that I used, and I would use them over and over. And I would measure my sugar in one, my flour in another one. And that way, when I got ready to put it in there, I didn't have to stop and measure it. It was already pre-measured. So let me get this going a little bit higher here. A little bit more mixing. So each recipe is 1.5 cups of granulated sugar. This is 3 batches, so this is going to be 4.5 cups. And I'll just put in like a cup at a time. And you do want to to beat this a good while because you want to make, I mean, you know, a reasonable amount of time. You want to make sure that it's not gritty, so you want to get it beat in there really good. Now we're going to do my flour, and the flour is 4.5 cups a batch. So I need 4, 8, 12, let's see, what is 4, 8, 12, I need 13.5 cups. But I've already measured this, and I know that the flour for 2 batches was 3 pounds and 3 ounces. I'm going to change my unit here to pounds. You want always, if you're weighing something, you always want to zero this out. Make sure I did that right. And then I'm going to add the other cup and a half. I mean the other 4.5 cups, not cup and a half, the other 4.5 cups. Okay, so this is just easier to do it this way, especially if you're making a lot. I'm going to get the scales to 3 pounds and 3 ounces. Now I need 4.5 cups. This is a 12-pound bag of flour here from Sam's. So there's my half cup. Leave that cup in there. Then I will put it in the I'll add it by the cup. So I'm going to get this out of the way here for now anyway. Once this is kind of mixed, this is mixed pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and add my eggs. This is 9 eggs. I'm doing 3 batches, so 3 eggs a batch. Egg yolks, not eggs. Egg yolks. Just kind of add them one at a time. Want to make sure it gets mixed up real good. This out of the way. Y'all notice I've got parchment down on my counter. I use a ton of parchment paper. And I use a long paper towel. And it might seem wasteful, but trust me, it's worth every penny that paper towel costs. To me, it is. It's worth it. And your cleanup is so much easier when you've got parchment under here. You can just lift it up and clean it up. Now I'm going to turn my mixer down just a little bit and just put a little bit at a time. You don't want the flour to splatter all over you. I have a splatter guard and I have one of the little silicone things that you can put flour in, but I decided not to use either one of those today since I'm only mixing it twice. Now keep in mind, when I was making all that shortbread, I would do like, on busy days, I would do like 6 triple batches before I stopped. That is a lot of work. And then you've got, you know, put it on ice. I don't put it in the refrigerator. I just put the cold packs on it and let it set and take a break. And then when I start cooking, and cooking 2 pans at a time, when you're doing 6 triple batches, it takes about 5 to 6 hours to bake all of that. Now I know what some of y'all are saying. You're nuts because you don't cook the 2 pans at a time. But and I might be, but that's just the way I do it. So you know, it takes me longer. But on the other hand, I don't have enough counter space to have 40 pans. Actually, I don't have 40 pans. I think I have 36 pans that I bake this in. And it has to cool completely, which takes about 2 hours for a pan to cool enough to where you can take, I'll show you the one I use. I use my little small thin one. I got it Home Goods. And when you put your little bench scraper down there, it automatically just slides out of the pan. And that's how you need it to be, and it needs to be completely cold to be able to do that. I sound like I'm sputtering. Oops, I dropped some of my flour. Good thing I could always add a little more if I need to. I won't use that some of the sheet. And you can tell when your dough comes together, you can tell if the dough is good. If it's sticky at all, then I can just, like if I drop a little bit, well then I'll just add a little bit more flour in. Hardly ever have to do that. When you're putting this in there, I know y'all can't see the bottom of the bowl, but you need to make sure that all of the flour in the bottom of the bowl gets mixed in with the dough, because if you don't, at the end, you're going to have a bunch of little flour crumbles in the bottom, and your dough's not going to mix well. So it's best to mix it as you go and make sure that that's done with each addition of your flour. I do want to tell y'all this about when I took the cake over there Saturday. A lot of the streets and the alleys were blocked off, and Jefferson is a small town, and of course, you know, we've lived here for what, 34 years, and I know it like the back of my hand. But when I started going in, I said, I think I should go to the front of the hotel, because that alley is right next to the gazebo, and I said, I guarantee you it's going to be blocked off. So, you know, I followed my instinct, and I went to the front, and I pulled in, and got out, and I knew there was some out-of-towners, you could tell they were there, so I didn't ask them, but there was a real nice lady that was standing at the door, and she was talking to the visitors, and I thought she was with the hotel. I didn't recognize her, but I thought, you know, she's talking to them, so she sounds like she knows what she's talking about, and I just assumed she was somebody with Excelsior. And so I walked up to her and I said, I need some help. And I said, would you mind to help me? And she said, sure. She put her stuff down and she came out to the car and she carried the box in. And when you go in those steps, when you go into the Excelsior, the doors are real narrow. I think y'all saw them when I took the pictures. They're double doors, but they're really narrow, and they're heavy, they're hard to open, and you have to do 2 step-ups. And when you've got a huge cake in your hand that weighs 15 or 20 pounds, it's very easy to stumble. I've taken many cakes in there before, and I didn't. Mike took me in for me because it was too heavy, but it's real tricky. And so she took it in there for me. We went through the hotel, through the area where they have their functions, and back to the kitchen. That's where we were taking them. And I said, "Are you with the Excelsior?" She said, "No, I'm with KTBS." And I was so got off with. I was imposing on someone that didn't have nothing to do other than she was there to record some of the events. And then she said, well, let me grab my microphone and get internet. I want to do an interview. So that's how it come about that she, did the interview and showed the pictures and showcased the cake. And I thought that was very nice and kind of her to do that. So this is coming together real nicely. I just need to speed this up a little bit and add the rest of this flour. And I thought that parade that I was showing yesterday morning, I thought that was going to be the children's parade. And, oops, what happened? And because, I didn't look at the brochure. I knew there was a parade in the morning. I didn't really realize there was one in the afternoon. And so then when I started doing the parade, I thought, well, that's kind of odd because there's not that many children in the parade. And then I realized somebody said the children's parade was at 6. And I honestly don't know, but I think they probably canceled it too because of the weather. But I didn't mean to mislead y'all. It was just I was thinking that was the children's parade, the first one, and it wasn't. And once this starts coming together, it completely separates from the pan, from the bowl. I'm going to put the rest of my flour in here. I'm definitely not going to need to add any more flour. This is the beauty of parchment paper. You just take it up, fold it up, and put it in the garbage. And this is so nice. I opened my Sprite, but I'm really drinking of it. Okay. Speed this up just a little bit, and then I'm going to take it off. Out of the way here. And y'all know that it wouldn't take quite this long if I wasn't filming this, but anytime you're doing a video, it's going to take longer than it does when you're just doing it yourself in the kitchen. Y'all bear with me just a second here. Now, to get that parchment to kind of stay in a place, you need to kind of wet your counter. And don't worry, it might seem like I'm wasting this parchment, but I'm not. I have a whole case of this. y'all have heard me say I've had for a very long time, and I probably hadn't even used a fourth of it. And I use a lot every time I bake. I'm not selling this. I'm giving this to friends, so that's why I don't have on gloves, because the people that I'm giving it to, they don't mind having my hands on it. All right. That is heavy, really heavy. You'll see how that just come right off of the beater. Put this aside here. That is my buzz just went off. To go check my shortbread. You see my bowl is almost completely clean. There's just a tiny bit in the bottom of it. That's when you know you got good dough. Let me get this out of the way here. Even that bowl empty is heavy. Let me check my shortbread. Oh yeah, my shortbread's ready. Okay. This is something when all bakers know when you're baking, you are constantly on the move, because by the time you get some pans done, it's ready to take it out and put in some more. And I don't have any more pressed down, but I'm going to leave the oven on because I'll do that in a minute. Okay, see, that's nice and golden. Now I'm going to get my cutter here. I've got to wash it because it has raw dough on it. I don't have but one of these. Most everything I've got in the kitchen, my kitchen tools, I've got at least two. Some have got multiples, but this particular cutter, I only have one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut this all the way down. Now be careful not to touch this pan, because if you do, you're going to burn yourself. And this has to be done as soon as your shortbread comes out of the oven. If you don't, you won't get a clean cut, because this starts to set immediately after you take it out. Okay, that one done. Let's start back here first. And then this has to be set in a cool spot to set. And I usually put it in the utility room where the window air conditioner is on, and it helps cool it off. I'm going to get these in here. Whoops, I don't have any palm holders in there. And once I get that other done over there, I'll get me some more pans ready to go in the oven. So this is a constant when you're making shortbread. You're constantly doing this the entire time that you're baking. Now this right here is 3 batches. So it's going to have to be divided and weighed into 3 parts. And I need about 27 ounces per block. So I'm going to get my scales out. So it's always interesting to me for someone that, you know, hasn't baked, or maybe they bake, but they might not go to all the trouble that I go to. And I don't mean that to be sound like I'm patting myself on the back. You know, I know that some people can do stuff wonderful, and maybe not go to all the trouble that I do. But I just, okay, that's 27 ounces. I just prefer to do mine precise, and it is hot. I gotta see if I got this air conditioner on in here. Whoops, FedEx is out there. FedEx is bringing my paper chef. All right, let me get me some more parchment. I have these smaller sheets here that I use. So that's 27 ounces, and I just fold this over. That's more. Sometimes I can guess real close, and sometimes I can't. When I get hot in the kitchen, it reminds me of when we were kids. We'd be working in the kitchen in the summertime, and oh my goodness, I'd get so hot, I'd just nearly die, it'd be so hot. All right, let me do another one. Let's see how close this is to 27 ounces. Whew, this one's a little over 27, but that's okay. I didn't get those, probably didn't get quite enough in those 2 or 3, but I'll fix that when I get to the now I got to get some pressed out into pans, and I'm just going to start with this here, because I need to get these in the oven since the oven is on. And I won't use all of this because this is more than 27 ounces. Okay, so I'm going to go over the recipe with you while I'm sitting here, and I will have to do another video later in a couple hours after the shortbread cools enough to where I can take it out. I want y'all to see how I do that. So it's going to be probably at least 2 hours before I come back to do the next video. But I need to get these in the oven pretty quick. So for a single batch of shortbread, you start with a pound of butter. That's 4 sticks, and I use salted. You know, this doesn't have any salt in it, so I do use more salted butter than I do unsalted. I keep 1 block of unsalted just in case there's a recipe that calls for unsalted, but I prefer to use salted. So 4 sticks, you want to cream that. Needs to be soft, room temperature. You want to cream that good. And then you're going to add 1.5 cups, and this is the order that you do it. 1.5 cups of granulated sugar. Make sure you get it mixed well enough to where it's not gritty. And 3 large egg yolks, and that goes in next, 1 at a time. And then you have, it's a little bit too much in there, just a little bit thicker than what I want. 4.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and you add that in a little bit at a time, and until it makes sure everything is got incorporated and stirred in the bottom. You want to put it on a non-stick, ungreased cookie sheet. This is 9 by 13. Now you can use a brownie pan if you want to. If you don't have enough of these little cheap pans that are shallow, these are actually, I think, called cookie sheets. The first ones that I bought at Bell's. It was going out of business, I don't know, several years ago in our little mall in Marshall. But I know you can get something this size at the dollar store. You can get them in grocery stores. The pans are called Good Cooks. They're going to be a little bit more in a grocery store than they would a dollar store. The Dollar General here has them, and I think they're like $4.50 each. If you do a lot of baking, you know, it's not a bad price to pay for them. To buy 2 or 3 of them, so you'd have them if you want to use them, if you don't use what you got. But it does need to be non-stick. And then pat it out about the best you can as far as thickness. And I'm using 27 ounces is what I'm using. If you don't have scales and you don't want to measure it, then I definitely would, I would go ahead and just eyeball it. You should get, out of one batch, you should get two pans the size of one batch. Now you can cut yours in squares. If you do them in squares, I'm going to do them 4 across. Do it in half, and don't press all the way through. Just make an indent. I do them 4 across, and then 4 down and 5 across. And I just eyeball this. I don't measure it. I've cut this so many times that I don't always get them exact, but it's pretty easy. And you can make some kind of little fancy design in them if you want to. That's, you know, certainly not necessary. This is just an apple core here. You can do like little, if you have little mini cookie cutters. She's on ours for a long time, PM for Pinky Moss. And you could do initials if you were doing them for a kid's birthday party or something. You could do the child's initials on it if you have the little mini cutouts. And your oven, you want to bake them for 20 minutes on 325. And as soon as they come out of the oven, go ahead and cut them. You don't want to forget, because if you turn your back and start doing something else, they'll start setting. And even though it takes them a while to set, they will start setting immediately, and then you're not going to get a clean cut. So make sure you press down. If you're using a knife, a bench scraper, or a cutter, whatever you're using, press down all the way to the pan. And then don't take them up. If you try to take them out of the pan, then they're going to tear up. So let them, put them in a cool place, let them set. You can tell by using a real thin spatula or something. You can tell if they're cool enough, or you can actually touch them with your hands and tell if they're cool enough to the touch. And once they've completely cooled, then you can take them out of the pans. And if you bag them, or if you put them in a big Tupperware bowl or Rubbermaid container, or if you're putting them in Ziploc bags, or whatever you're doing, just make sure they are completely cool. They should be cool before you take them out of the pan, but make sure they're completely cool before they're bagged up, so there won't be any moisture or anything in them. And these will keep indefinitely. And when I say indefinitely, I'm talking about 3 or 4 months. They're going to stay fresh. If you're more comfortable putting them in the freezer, you can, but I'm telling you, I have put them in a bowl and eat them weeks after I made them. They taste like they just come out of the oven. So this is one good thing that mails good. Like if you have somebody in the services that you want to mail a package to on their birthday or the holidays or something, this would mail really good. Now, I'm not sure about the cost, because the cost of shipping is outrageous, but they definitely mail good as far as they stay together. They don't come apart and crumble and everything. And if you are packing, remember when you're packing, you want to use every bit of the space in the box. Get the smallest box possible to add the cookies to it, because anytime there's extra room in the box, they're going to shake, and that will give an opportunity for them to break or something. So remember that when you're packing. I've packed cars and boxes and suitcases so much in my life that, you know, I can do it blindfolded, but you know, a lot of people don't realize that if they haven't packed a lot in their lifetime. Okay, as soon as I get these cut, I'm gonna get these in the oven, and I will get pictures on here when these get cool enough to take out, and put the recipe on here again. And for those of you who bought this from me, it'll depend on later on this year if I do any baking to sell. If I do, I'll let y'all know ahead of time. But you know, the summertime is not a good time to be baking boxes and boxes and boxes of baked goods because your house would stay hot for hours even after you got through baking. So even though these would do okay in the heat, it's not something that I want to do in the summertime, except to, you know, to give to somebody like I'm doing these. Okay, I'm going to pop these in the oven and set the timer. Thank y'all again so much for joining me. I'm not sure if Mary will be on tomorrow night. It'll definitely depend on how she feels. But, whoops. She'll be on when she feels like it, and that's how we're going to leave it. And I have really cautioned her about not feeling pressured or obligated to do videos when she's not able to do them. So thank you so much for watching me, for watching my videos, for looking at the pictures. Make sure it helps us if you like and share our videos, and also comment, and also the pictures. So thank you so much, and don't forget there's also things that will be posted on my personal page, Lynn Fixon Dalton, which is connected to Pinky Malls, and anything that's shared on there, or any money's made on there, is also, you know, part of mine and Mary's little money that we get. So keep that in mind also. So thanks again. I'll see y'all a little bit later on today, and I'll be taking these out of the pan, and I'll be bagging some of them up and let y'all see how I bag them up. So until later, maybe a couple of hours from now, I'll see y'all then. Bye-bye.